Yes, it's time to do business. 55 minutes of business is what we do on Business Incorporated. This is what we've prepared for you for this episode. In South Africa, talks about presidency and membership of G20 is on. Nigeria is involved. Unfortunately, car shortage is back in Nigeria. What's the cause? We'll get the perspective of POS operators. And Guinea is looking for ways to create sovereign wealth fund from their iron ore reserve. Welcome to the program. I'm Ini John Mekwa. Let's do business. We'll start from the metals market. Gold prices scaled a two-week peak on Wednesday, supported by escalating geopolitical tensions and expectations of another rate cut by the United States Reserve next week. And then also ahead, closely watched U.S. inflation report that's due later on today. Let's keep our eyes on the number now. We see spot gold remains in the green territory from what it had yesterday. Went up 0.2%, $2,698.47 per ounce. U.S. gold futures also up 0.6%, $2,734.70 per ounce. We see gold looking really good. It's a golden year, I must say, for the metals when it comes to that. Now let's look at other commodities in that area. We see spot silver also went up 0.1%. There you have that. That's silver, 0.1%, $31.93. Platinum also went up 0.5%. $947.55, where palladium also went up, all in the green, talking about the metals there. And of course, we know that eyes on inflation number, expectations of another rate cut before the year is over. Those are major factors that are driving now. 25 basis points is what is being projected that we could see for the next rate cut. I think about 90% of economists are saying that. Goldman Sachs reiterated its bullish stance on prices and pushed back on the argument that bullion cannot rally to 3,000 by the end of 2025 and not 2024. Now we see oil prices also went up today slightly, with market participants expecting to see demand rising in China next year after Beijing announced a looser monetary policy to stimulate economic growth. Remember, yesterday at this time, we were waiting for that announcement. And so now we've seen, and expectation is that it's going to increase their demand. Look at the numbers this afternoon. It's gone up to $72. Yesterday, about this time, it's about $71. So $72.94, gained a whole 1.05% in one trading session. That's a huge move, for any commodity. WTI also in the same range, 1.08% in the green. $69.33 per ounce. And we seem to see a bit of reduction in the difference, normally to be about $4, but I think this is about $3, almost $4 though, but I mean, just a little bit of difference right there. China is a major driver of oil at this time. That announcement on a new approach to their economic stimulus. And now still staying in the oil and gas area, the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited has announced the discovery of 34 illegal refineries and 17 illegal pipeline connections across the Niger Delta region. This has been discovered in 1 week. The NNPCL says that this was achieved by the joint efforts of its command and control centers, other joint ventures partners, and government security agencies. The NNPCL also disclosed that a total of 19 suspects were apprehended and handed over to government security agencies for investigation. At the same time, the National Oil Company, revealed that it recorded a total of 94 oil theft incidents in parts of Bayelsa, Rivers, and Abia states. The NNPCL mentioned that the move is part of its commitment to ending the chronic crude oil theft in the country. And perhaps the result of this is what we've seen in our oil production, which seems to have improved in the last couple of months. Now, away from the oil and gas sector, the year 2024 has seen Nigerian consumers dealing with high energy prices, increasing demand for renewable and cheaper in the long run alternative has also received a boost. According to Mr. Ernest Akinlola, the managing director of BBox Nigeria, more investment will come in 2025 for Nigeria's solar energy industry, which will help get more underserved Nigerians affordable solar energy. It was a guest on Business Morning earlier today.
There's been a pull and a push, right? So the PMS has been very much, the PMS price is petrol. For those that don't know, the PMS, petrol prices have gone up over 300%, right? That's then created a pull for alternative energy sources. So solar has always been there as a solution, but then that's been a catalyst for people who wanted to find out. And then on the push side, there's been a lot more developers in the market pushing the narrative, understanding that there's a whole ecosystem here. And this is one of the earliest industries. It's almost like, almost as untapped as insurance, right? Very low penetration. I'm extremely excited about 2025, right? Particularly for Nigeria, because there's a new grant starting. In fact, next week in Abuja, we're going to have a second kickoff roundtable meeting with the World Bank and Rural Electrification Agency. There's $750 million earmarked for solar energy in Nigeria across the different segments that I've mentioned. And we can't wait to get started, right? So I see 2025 a year of improved installations, also focusing on more of the rural hinterland. The whole program is dimensioned to give a higher subsidy the further out you go. So the more, if you like, urbanized you are, the less subsidy you get.
And well, I guess everyone will get excited. Expectations for 2025. We'll see more investment in the renewable energy space. Now, a story going on round at this time, but we haven't heard from any authority, is that the country faces imminent electricity blackout as the Nigerian Midstream and Downstream Petroleum Regulatory Authority, as the NMDPRA, has directed gas producers to halt supply of gas to indebted generation companies, that's the GenCos, the electricity space. This is supposed to be in an ex post. We do not have that official yet, but we just want to keep you informed. And we're going to follow up on this story to get any of the authorities to comment, confirm or refute this. That the Nigerian National Grid revealed that NMDPRA's directive to halt gas supply to GenCos because of a debt of over 2 trillion naira debt that the federal government and some GenCos owe gas producers in the country. As I said, there's a story going on now. Just thought to bring that to you while we await confirmation or refute from any of the authorities. We certainly hope it's not true. I mean, electricity blackout is never something that pays anyone. And closely related to that is the story of cash shortage, which I have experienced, at least in Lagos State. So this is confirmed. But we do not seem to understand the cause of it. Last week, the Central Bank of Nigeria shared a circular assuring Nigerians that there would be enough cash in circulation, especially for the festive season, and sharing some numbers and email address where you can reach out to them if you see anything otherwise. In spite of all of this, cash shortage is a reality in many parts of the country at this time. And a lot of fingers point to the POS. We know them as the POS. They are the Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria, AMBAN. A lot of fingers pointing against them as the POS operators. Let's get their perspective and hear. They are the middlemen in this, in between. I don't have. In between the banks and the consumers, you know. So let's find out what is really going on from their perspective. We have joining us two operators. two operators. First of all, the acting president, Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents of Nigeria, AMBAN, and then also the vice chairman joining us from Edo State, Juliet Maduike, and then the acting president is Dr. Bioha Oti. Good afternoon. Let's start with you, Dr. Oti. Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us on the program.
Good afternoon so much. Thank you for having me in your program.
Yeah, so what's going on, Dr. Oti? We thought this was resolved. We shouldn't have cash shortage at this time. What's the real situation? What's going on?
If you will recall, the last time I was in this program, a few weeks back, I cautioned that if the situation on ground was not improved towards the Yuletide season, that we will likely encounter the situation we have now, the serious cash shortage. So as people that deal with cash via the POS, so I can confirm to you that we have severe cash shortages in several parts of the country. So that is the situation on ground.
Okay, Dr. Oti, just give me a moment. I'll come back to you to follow up on that, as well as the vice chairman who's joining us. But first of all, to our viewers who were joining us via our DSTV platform, we need to head to River State now. And in River State, there's the flag off of Egui Afara Road construction in River State. It's happening at Egui Afara Road, Eche local government area, and it starts now. I believe Governor Fubara will be there. But for our viewers from other platforms, we will continue right here on Business Incorporated. If you're watching us online on our YouTube channel, you can always switch. If you want to continue watching Business Incorporated, you can switch to the other stream on YouTube, and you will stay with us right here on Business Incorporated. So Dr. Oti, you were saying that there's cash, but it's not going round, or help us to understand.
The situation on ground is that many parts of the country many POS operators, including banks, don't have cash. So there is no cash. If you go to a typical bank, in many parts of the country, including Lagos State, as a POS operator, you will not be able to withdraw more than 10,000 naira from the bank.
What are the banks telling you? What are the banks telling you, Dr. Oti?
The bank is saying they are doing the much they can. From report from our members, they are doing the much they can. Some of the branches of the bank, some of the branches have the ATMs paying. There are some branches of the banks that have their ATMs loaded, but as soon as they load it, the cash in the ATM will quickly finish, and that will be that. So there is a serious cash scarcity all over the country. Okay. That's the position on ground.
Okay, let's find out the situation in Edo State. So we have Juliet Maduike joining us also. Good afternoon, Ms. Maduike. What is the situation in Edo State? Is it similar to what we have in Lagos?
Yes, good afternoon, ma'am. Yeah, it's still very similar to what we have here in Edo State. I myself, I could confirm that I went to the bank yesterday, and then above the counter, they are just paying 10,000 naira. Then when you go to the ATMs, the ATM, let's say for Zenith Bank, you're a Zenith Bank user, ATM pays you 20,000 naira. But if you're not a Zenith Bank user, maybe you are coming with your First Bank card, the ATM pays you 10,000 naira. So it's generally, even for us POS operators, we do not have cash anywhere in the country, in Edo State to be precise.
So I really don't understand. Normally, you get your supply from the banks, mostly. So what are the banks saying? Are they saying they do not have cash, or what's going on?
I think that one of the reasons why we are having this scarcity is usually it's a normal thing during the Yuletide period. But we know that in this year, the cash has not been enough. The CBN has been encouraging a cashless society from the time of cash crunch that they said, okay, we are no longer going to be using the old money, we are going to be using the new money. From that time till now, I do not think we have recovered from cash scarcity. The CBN, they have a lot of money in circulation, as they allege that there's a lot of money in circulation that they can't trace. So they are not, and the deposit money banks now are not getting in a lot of deposits. People withdraw money, they don't pay in at the banks. So the money is in circulation, but then there's no money enough in the circulation. I don't understand the mathematics, but I know that most deposit money banks they don't get deposits because people actually prefer to maybe use the POS to deposit their money or just use cash within the market. While the CBN keep releasing money because I can attest to the fact that most times when you go to the bank, it's usually the new money they give to you. Most times the old money is not even at the counter. So it means the CBN keep releasing money, but the money once it comes to outside the market, it comes to circulation. We do not know exactly what is happening to it. And then because to that, most people are now encouraging, we're encouraging cashless society. Most people, most traders are now receptive to, technology. You could buy something, you just use the POS, use your card and pay. You could just do a transfer to the market woman. They are more receptive. So cash is no longer as it usually is in circulation. I think that is one of the reasons why we are having this kind of much scarcity this year.
Yeah, but it does sound like, it's not adding up. So we want to encourage a cashless society. And yet, POS operators like yourself have increased charges, which is, supposed to discourage people from withdrawing money. But then even the people you refer to, some traders who are receptive to you paying maybe with your card or transfer, they charge you, which discourages cashless. I mean, and now you're also saying that it looks like a lot of Nigerians are withdrawing the cash, but not allowing it to come back into circulation. I mean, it seems contradictory, really.
Yeah, it is. It is contradictory because most times in Nigeria, so many things do not work, right? So I think so many people have fear. Like, what if I take my money to the bank? Okay, there was a speculation earlier, I think last November, that the CBN will stop receiving old money by 31st December. So most people they collect their money, they keep. It's not the POS operator actually because they are fond of accusing the POS operator. Most people have this money, they keep it in their homes just for security reasons, for backup reasons. The POS operator, let's be sincere, how many POS operator actually have 1 million, 2 million, 500,000 naira to keep at home just for security? So when a POS operator collects cash, the person wants to use it to make money, and the charges that you are referring to, there are so many costs attached to operating a POS. Now, recently the CBN has introduced the 50 naira stamp duty electronic levy. So for every 10,000 naira that comes to your account as a POS operator, there is 50 naira automatically. So if we do not even charge our customers, it means we cannot even meet up. We have to, most of us, we have offices. Those that don't have offices, they have these kiosks they have on the road. They pay for the kiosk, they pay for the terminal, they pay for paper, they pay for data, they pay for so many things, operational costs running that business. And for us, it is a business, right? So nobody runs a business to incur loss. You run a business that no matter, at least you can gain a little profit. So the charges is not entirely our fault. If the regulators keep making it impossible for us to encourage the cashless society, the POS operators have to still make a living. That is just it.
Yeah, well, I guess you really have to make a living. But let's talk to Dr. Oti now. Dr. Oti, you at least are the acting president of AMBAN. So where do we go from here? Are you having conversations with the authority on what we can do? I mean, because honestly, it is frustrating to be seen to be buying Naira. You want to take cash and you have to pay for it. This is Naira in Nigeria and we are paying for it. Then what do we do to dollar? What conversations are you having to solve this issue?
Yeah, last week, myself and members of my team in the session, we were in the National Assembly because we heard about the motion inviting the CBN governor and the CEOs of banks because of unidentified POS operators and all that. So we were able to meet the chairman of the committees that were responsible. We met the chairman of the committee on banking and the ancillary institutions, and we met the motion mover himself. And we had a fruitful discussion. Now, all we are asking for is anytime the government wants to take a decision concerning our business, because we are the food soldiers, we are the people doing this business. The government should put us in the picture. They should recognize us, even though we are working as agents to the banks, to the fintechs, but at least we are the people on ground. Now, the CBN should find a way to put us in the equation. When they are talking about how they disburse cash, they should say for every CBN in a CBN branch in a state, that the POS operators, this is their quota for cash. Because whether you accept it or not, almost everybody now who wants to withdraw cash in the country goes through us. At least I had the opportunity to do a little research there. I asked the honorable members, Honorable Eze Nwachukwu Eze, who is the chairman in charge of banking and ancillary services. He told us how our people have been good helping him to make withdrawals and all that, even though there are some other complaints that he gave us. The same thing is applicable to the motion mover, Honorable John Chike Okafor. Okay? So the job we do is something that is affecting the citizens of Nigeria. So when the regulator, especially the central bank and the commercial banks that are our principals, when they are taking major decisions, they should put us in the equation, because we now are at the mercy of the customers who we are unable to serve because we don't have the necessary tools to serve them. And then at the mercy of the government, from time to time, the government looks at us like we are the people causing the problem of cash scarcity. And then a lot of fraud going on within the system. So if we are adequately involved in the decision-making process and all that, I believe that a lot will improve in terms of the business we do, as it has to do with cash and the fraudulent activities, to make sure that we are able to curb them.
All right. Thank you so much for that. We certainly hope that there'll be more information and collaboration between the POS operators and the regulators. Acting President of Association of Mobile Money and Bank Agents in Nigeria, Dr. Obioha Oti, as well as the Vice Chairman in Edo State, Juliet Maduike. Thank you so much for sharing your views with us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
All right, let's take a break now. When we come back, we'll head to the markets. To stay with us. Welcome back to watching Business Incorporated on Channels Television. We'll head to the markets now for intraday numbers with Anite Edet. Anite, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Nini. As you can see, the market, it made a brief, I wouldn't call it a dead cat bounce. You know what a dead cat bounce is?
I believe so, Anite.
Yes, that's when, you know,
so we had a recovery yesterday from the fall on Monday, and that's been sustained to intraday. But we'll see if this can stay to the close of trade today.
That's why I'm saying I just hope it's not a dead cat bounce, which is just maybe just a one-day gain and then it goes back into negative territory. But let's give an analysis of the intraday market numbers. As you can see on the screen there, 0.03%. That was the last track for the market about an hour ago. And we saw yesterday that buying sentiments from MTN Nigeria, the likes of Cornell, the likes of Nestle, and about 30 others. We had about 36 gainers in contrast to 20 losers yesterday. And month to date so far has gone back to about 0.68%, down from 0.62%. Year to date, 31.3%. So that's so far the Nigeria's stock market is not doing pretty bad as we speak, just as we're still counting out to the end of the year, where we'll see whether we will be able to maintain that 31,000 points or maybe climb a little bit higher than the 31,000 points currently that market is trading. Now, for the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, 0.42% is what you see the number, and it has lowered a little bit from what we saw yesterday, just dropped from the 87,000 points to 86,901.75 at intraday trading session. So we look out for how that market will end midweek trading session in a couple of hours from now. For the other two markets, like we track, EGX 30 on the Egypt Stock Exchange was up 0.39%, while the Nairobi Stock Exchange for the close of Tuesday's trading session, a massive. Yesterday, what we saw was 117,000 points, or 117.39 points. But now the market gained for the close of Tuesday's trading session up by a whopping 2.77% and almost at a 120 point index level for that Nairobi Stock Exchange all-share index there. So we'll look at how that market will close, or will open for Wednesday and then close for tomorrow. But most likely it will be that the bulls will have it for the Nairobi's Stock Exchange all-share index. Okay, so now from stocks, let's talk more about the fixed income markets. But we're not really the fixed income market. We will be delving much more about the foreign exchange market, where we see the Naira in recent times, just about 2 weeks now, we've seen that rally on the local currency, and all thanks to the electronic foreign exchange matching system, the new system that has been introduced, that was introduced by the Central Bank of Nigeria, all in a bid to spur the Naira's gain and as well attract investors and then also strengthen the country's economy. So now let's talk about this as well as the other issues within the fixed income market. And we have Senator Aldu, Forex dealer and analyst with Access Bank, to give us details about this. Thank you for joining us, Senator.
Thanks for having me, Aniti.
Okay. All right. So, Senator, let me start first. We see that there's been several platforms that the CBN has introduced, from the Dutch auction system, the diaspora remittance, as well as the FMs, and so many others, all in a bid to prop up the Naira. But at some point, we always see this gain not being sustained. As we speak, yesterday we saw a pullback on the Naira, on the FMs market. Can you tell us more about this?
Okay, so you're right that the CBN has persistently continued to deploy strategies to improve the FX situation with a focus on improving the exchange rate that we are currently experiencing. We had seen the retail Dutch auction conducted, as well as strategies deployed around spurring diaspora remittances. But those strategies are quite different from the electronic foreign exchange matching system that the CBN has deployed now, using the BMatch platform on Bloomberg. What that platform has aimed to achieve is transparency. So the way that platform currently operates is that authorized traders can go to that platform, and you will see the amount of demand in the market, the total turnover. You will see the best bid, as well as the best offer. So you see the exact amount of supply, exact amount of demand. So the market, the official market, has gained transparency that we haven't seen in such a long time. So that has led to, of course, an improved exchange rate. So just before that platform was introduced, we did see the FX rate at about 1,672 Naira. The BMatch, or the EFM system, was introduced on the 2nd of December. And today we've seen the volume-weighted average price trade or close yesterday at about 1,532 Naira. So that's a significant appreciation. So we have seen gains as a result of this platform introduced by the CBN.
Okay, so now my next question is: how has the recent developments in the forex markets influenced investor sentiment for Nigeria?
The reception has been largely positive. We've seen increased supply in the FX market as a result of the implementation of that matching system, but also as a result of the CBN's efforts on the foreign portfolio side. So we've seen persistent home auctions by the CBN. We saw an auction conducted early this week. The amount sold was about 1.5 trillion naira. The discount rate for that, there were two bills on offer. The shorter one closed at 23.95%, and the longest one closed at 23.98%. The yield on that is about 31.54%, which is a level that is unmatched across many climes. So we have seen a positive reaction to these efforts by the CBN, both on the FX matching side and the fixed income side. The foreign portfolio guys have interpreted this as positive signs, and we see that contribute positively to our exchange rate and our economy.
Okay, Senator, I know that you would have given more information, but we're short of time. I know very well that there's a Treasury bills auction, the second, just about maybe the second to the last for the month of December, but we'll have details about that in tomorrow's program. But thank you for joining us for your time on the show.
Thanks for having me, Anita. Have a great day.
Same with you. So that was Senator Audu, equity, a forex dealer and analyst with Access Bank for the Naira's exchange rate against the dollar, which has been on the positive side. Okay, now the Middle East markets, take a look at the board there. Dubai and the Abu Dhabi index, both on the United Arab Emirates, that's for the very first time in the last 2 days, they've been able to make a comeback in the midst of the Syrian turmoil there, where we see Bashar al-Assad, that's about almost about 4 days ago, since he was toppled by the rebels in that country, and also the Middle East uncertainty. So in the midst of all of that, the Dubai and the Abu Dhabi index, they've been able to make a comeback, but we'll get to see how this comeback is being sustained. But for the other two markets within the Middle Eastern region, we see the Tadawul. Yesterday, it was in the green, but this time is a flip over of the table for that Saudi Arabia stock exchange. Is down at intraday at 0.07%, 12,184.52, while the Qatari Stock Exchange has been able to hold on to the green color, which is wore yesterday at intraday, even for the close of the trading session, at 0.34%, 10,531.97. That's the last track on the number for midweek trading session. Okay, so from the Middle East, we go over to the United States. Stock futures, little change. And this is because investors are waiting for the consumer price index from the world's biggest economy. So we see the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the S&P 500, and the NASDAQ. Kind of a mixed picture there, but the two greens that we have for the stock futures is for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, while the Dow Jones Industrial Average is in the red. So now, investors are the market, the consumer price index is expected to come at about 0.3% versus a 2.9%, which was recorded about a year ago. So that number will be coming out early today. And at the same time, the investors will be looking out for the producer price index report expected later in the week, and as well as some corporate earnings results coming from the world's biggest economy overnight. All the three major averages were in the red. And for details of that, we bring in our Washington correspondent, Maria Bird.
The U.S. stock market fell on Tuesday as many investors are watching to see what will happen on the eve of the consumer inflation report being released. There are many concerns that if inflation shows to be on the uptick, that we could not see any more interest rate cuts before the end of the year. This has many investors concerned that the U.S. economy could not stabilize, and especially some challenges before we get to the end of the year. As the Dow Jones was down at 0.3% today, as spending most of the day stalled without much trading. And the S&P 500 was also down at 0.3%. And the NASDAQ as well, closing at 0.3% down. Investors are watching to see what will happen over the next days and weeks ahead, hoping that the next few days can be a bit stronger than the previous earlier in the week.
Correspondent Maria Bird with the closing numbers on Wall Street for Tuesday's trading session. And finally, let's move over to the Asian markets, where we see mixed numbers coming out there Nikkei 225 still being able to hold on to the green color there. The Kospi, South Korea has been in the news, but this time it's on the positive side of the news because for the very first time since last week, we've seen that the market has been able to climb its way back into positive terrain. 2,442.51. That's for the market, the country's benchmark all-share index, and the number there is 1.02%. And this is coming after they had a report that the countries there. Most of the country's president there is being investigated. So there's positive news about him being arrested if he meets some of the demands there. For the Hang Seng Index, we see a down 0.77% for that market index on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. While the other two markets, the Shanghai and the Nifty 50, talk about the Nifty 50, which is from the India stock market. We see that India has a new central bank governor, and is expecting that starting from next year, there will be a cut in interest rate. Speaking of interest rate, India is already battling high inflation as well, a decline in the country's currency, that's the rupee. But so far, for the close of Wednesday's trading session, the India stock market is one of the key benchmark markets indexes there, because we have the Bombay, the Sensex, but the Nifty 50 is the benchmark that we're tracking here, 24,641.80, up by 0.13% for the close of Wednesday's trading session, while the 2.9% at 3,432.49 points. So, that's a wrap for the markets for Asia.
All right, Anita, thank you so much for that. Now we go to Europe. In Berlin, the auto industry in Germany has been in trouble for some time. And it's not just German brands now, but they are showing weakness in their sales numbers. During a visit to the German Ford plant, Chancellor Olaf Scholz made the case for a new round of help for the struggling sector. What will this help look like? Lars Holter joins us. Hi, Lars. Good afternoon.
Thanks for having me, Ini. Well, Chancellor Scholz seems to have understood that the current troubles in the auto industry are too much for him to handle, or for the German government for that matter. He says it needs a pan-European program to help the industry overcome their problems. And when Scholz says Europe, he obviously means the European Union as a well-established common market with common rules and regulations. It would actually be rather easy, of course, for the EU to act based on existing structures within the bloc. Too bad, however, it seems almost impossible to get the EU to ever agree on anything and do anything at all. Because Scholz is right, whether it's a program of EU subsidies on the manufacturer side or on the consumer side, with the EU, say, giving financial aid to help with the purchase of an electric vehicle, or whether it's a stronger commitment to a faster expansion of the charging infrastructure. Literally anything the EU would do to help strengthen electric mobility would likely have a huge impact on the sector.
So why do we have these difficulties in the first place? What's the cause?
It's mostly about money, specifically cars being too expensive, and it's a two-pronged problem. On the consumer side, the German government actually had a financial assistance program in place. They paid out 10 billion euros to help finance the purchase of 2.2 million electric vehicles last year, and then the program got cut, signaling to customers maybe a lack of conviction towards electric vehicles. However, there's financial problems on the producers' side too. German car makers say they cannot currently make an electric car for 25 to 30,000 euros, but that would be the magic price point to make those cars really attractive, and it's the price point some foreign car makers are hitting, including those companies from China who have been growing their market share in Europe as of late. In Germany, high energy costs and high wages mean higher prices for cars. In fact, some German automakers have now been outsourcing more of their production simply to be able to meet lower price points for their vehicles. However, many have also invested into upgrading their German plants, so they would actually manufacture in Germany if it was financially more attractive.
Yeah, a lot of things to consider there, but let's leave that for a bit. How's the markets doing at this time?
Well, there really isn't much movement in stocks, either in Germany this morning or elsewhere in Europe. We've had that rally, and we've seen on Monday and Tuesday that there is not much strength left in markets for now. And I don't see much on the horizon today that could fire us up again. There are a few minor companies out with some numbers. There's strong results from TUI, that is Germany's, and in fact, one of the world's largest travel agents, but that is hardly the kind of material that could drive a rally. So I guess we'll have to see what's developing, but it really looks like markets are taking a bit of a breather.
Yeah, breather there. Thanks, Lars.
Thank you, Ini.
All right, now let's come to Africa, our continent, where we start with South Africa. The Director General of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation in South Africa and G20 Sherpa, Zane Dango, has reiterated that South Africa will use its G20 presidency to address key priorities. These priorities include strengthening disaster resilience and response, advancing debt sustainability for low-income countries, securing funding for a just energy transition, as well as harnessing critical minerals. Dango shared these updates during a media briefing on the recent outcomes of the G20 Sherpa Finance and Central Bank Deputies meeting that was held in Sandton, Johannesburg. Our correspondent, Innocent Semusa, was there.
G20 Sherpa Zane Dango says the primary goal of the Sherpa Finance and Central Bank Deputies meeting is to lay the foundation for crucial discussions that will take place at next year's G20 summit.
Strengthening disaster resilience and responses, and I think this is based on the fact that climate change is with us and that the damage arising from climate change needs a specific response.
Nigeria, Africa's most populous nation, has expressed interest in joining the G20. Dango echoed President Ramaphosa's support for Nigeria's bid to become a G20 member.
On the question of Nigeria, I think when we launched South Africa's G20 presidency in Cape Town, the president was quite clear that if the issue of Nigeria's membership of the G20 comes up, South Africa will obviously be right in front to support that. It did not come up in the last 2 days, and part of the G20 review at 20 will look at, for example, the manner in which new members are included. So that's going to be part of the review process. So that came up from the floor very specifically. I think that now that the AU is a member, many of the other regional groupings also seek membership of the G20, so there's going to be significant discussions about the criteria for membership.
One of the major talking points has been whether or not Donald Trump's presidency could pose a threat to the BRICS bloc and potentially reverse its gains.
There was no formal discussion in the Sherpa meeting of a particular threat coming in from an incoming Trump presidency. I think the G20 members were just focused on how do we drive the climate change agenda as the G20, are cognizant of the fact that there may be challenges emerging with a potentially emerging, but it's too soon to tell whether that will be a reality or not.
G20 Sherpa Xolisa Mabongo also addressed the topic of trade and protectionism.
This G20, our G20 is being held on the African continent. So there's an expectation that before we go to MC14, during our presidency of the G20, we will give some impetus to open and free trade, to doing away with protectionism.
As the G20 preparations continues, all eyes will be on how these discussions unfold and shape the global economic landscape in the coming year. From Johannesburg, South Africa, Innocent Samos, Channels Television News.
From the south to the west, the International Monetary Fund has completed the third review of Ghana's $3 billion extended credit facility program, which highlights significant risks that could derail the country's economic recovery despite recent progress. While Ghana's performance under the program was deemed generally satisfactory, the IMF, in a press release, cautioned that multiple vulnerabilities persist and that key risks identified include election-driven policy slippages, with the December 2024 general elections approaching, and now we see the result. The IMF warns of potential fiscal slippages, citing Ghana's history overspending as one major one. There's also the energy sector challenges, which the IMF has flagged as deepening fiscal risks posed by inefficiencies in the energy sector, among other factors. And Ethiopia, the chief administrator of the Greater Pibok Administrative Area, Gola Boy Gola, has raised an alarm over the presence of more than 50 illegal Ethiopian mining companies operating in the Rahad area of Jebel Boma County. According to Mr. Gola, the companies have reportedly encroached 15 kilometers into South Sudanese territory, threatening both the environment and local communities. He expressed regret over the lack of a response from the national government despite the illegal mining activities in the Rahad area are also causing substantial environmental damage. And the chief administrator revealed that the use of mercury in the gold extraction process has polluted the Akobo River, resulting in fatalities among residents and also affecting fish and wildlife. Gola is calling on the government of South Sudan and Ethiopia to collaborate in addressing the illegal mining crisis near the border. And now to Guinea, where the country plans to use some of its income from mining the world's largest iron ore reserve to create a sovereign wealth fund. The facility will fund key development projects in the government's Semando 2040 program, planning and international cooperation. This was revealed by the Minister Israel Nabi. And now Egypt's trade deficit has widened to $4.4 billion in September 2024, marking a 22.8% year-on-year increase. This according to data released by the Central Agency for Public Mobilization and Statistics. Egypt's export increased 10.2% year-on-year to $3.46 billion in September 2024. Notable growth was seen in petroleum products, which was almost 150% increase. Ready-made garments also went up about 28%. Raw plastics also went up, as well as food paste products. However, declines were observed in key export sectors, which include crude oil. It went down about 66%. Fertilizers went down. Fresh fruit also reduced, as well as bars, rods, angles, and wires made of iron. They also declined. Let's see if there's been a decline or an increase in the price of Bitcoin this afternoon with Laddie Williams. Laddie?
Yeah. So, we're seeing Bitcoin trying again to get back
to 100.
To 100. Let's see if it happens this time. But we've seen major pullbacks across the market with major altcoins, giving up most of the gains at this time. And you know how Mr. Market can be. When you feel like the market is going down and it just switches on you.
Because it's not looking like balance. We know that normally the alts will follow the trend of Bitcoin, but we see Bitcoin in another territory at this time, and the alts seem to be
alts, But we know alts have given a lot of gains at this point compared to Bitcoin, and obviously profit taking is normal at this point. Let's look at the top headlines in the crypto industry. Now we see most of the Securities and Exchange Commission's heads now are becoming very crypto-friendly. Director General of Nigerian Securities and Exchange Commission in Nigeria, that's Emomotimi Agama, he stated that Nigeria's President Bola Ahmed Tinubu endorsed cryptocurrency industry long before Donald Trump did in the United States. So we're seeing a lot of leaders there getting more crypto friendly. Then we see Nigeria's top global crypto adoption index, a report by Consensus, one of the leading blockchain and Web3 software companies, reported that Nigeria has continued to lead in crypto ownership and adoption. A lot of Nigerians know about cryptocurrency. Now, then we see the crypto community, they're criticizing Microsoft's BTC, Bitcoin rejection. Earlier, Microsoft shareholders voted against Bitcoin investment plan. They were supposed to put about 1% in Bitcoin to hedge against inflation. So most of the shareholders voted against that, and the crypto community criticizing that move. Let's bring in Olumide Adesina now, financial market analyst. Hello, Olumide.
Yes. Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So before now, most of the Securities and Exchange Commission bosses were mostly against cryptocurrency, but we're seeing a lot of pro-crypto leaders there coming into the Securities and Exchange Commission in Nigeria. We've seen that happening. So tell me, is this the trend that's going to continue with other countries? How are you seeing it?
Well, what we're seeing in the United States is not what we're seeing in Nigeria. The body language of the Tinubu administration has not really shown much difference. A lot of users can't really transact USDT with their bank stable coins. We've seen exodus of crypto exchanges to the Middle East, particularly UAE, Dubai, and that's because of the tough climate around transacting with Nigerian banks with crypto exchanges. And also, if you look at the rules as which businesses in that ecosystem can set up, it's quite tough. Though you could comment that there is a growth in the registration of some localized crypto exchanges, we are not seeing what the Americans have been able to bring about. And that's why a lot of Nigerians are still upset with the president's administration. However, the strategic step around the crypto space puts Nigeria in the front tech, the blockchain, and the technology evolving around it. But the truth of the matter, Ladi, is that disposable income is weak. Inflation is at 3-year high. That really tells you that it's much more about quantity in little places rather than quality in high places.
Right. And how would you say, the cost of living crisis and inflation is impacting adoption of cryptocurrency? But we're seeing Nigeria still topping the global crypto adoption index. Are they just holding crypto or really trading actively?
So the truth is that payment infrastructure in Africa is one of the most expensive to operate on. And you see, countries like France, UK, Germany, United States, they have different payment options. I speak with a lot of Europeans and ask them why they're not using USDT. And, the incentive to use USDT to run transactions is not there. Their currency is fairly stable, unlike what you see the Naira. Look at the Naira at the black market. In a span of 10 days, it's acting like a meme coin, a gap of 200. At some point, it dropped below 1,550. Now it's oscillating around 1,750. So it makes it very difficult for the average businessman or somebody in need of FX to make transactions to really operate on the Naira. So that's why some Nigerians keep USDT. So that is more of preservation of wealth, more of hedging against the Naira, more of transacting, more of bureaucratic process in our financial institutions, despite the fact that Nigerian financial institutions are coming of age. It really gives crypto a space in the Nigerian context.
Yeah, quite interesting, because I saw that report on Nairametrics earlier that the parallel market now is trading about 1,750. But I called one of my BDC guys, and he said it's about 1,650. So we've been celebrating the comeback of the Naira. What are you seeing this week for the Naira?
To be honest with you, I think we've seen some sense of stability in the official FX market, but that has not translated at the unofficial market. This is the festive season, a lot of people coming in, and definitely Nigerians have still not seen so much need to hold the Naira for the long term. So I think that will really have to be on the one runner for we to see stability. But it's fair to say that the government really is working on top of their game to ensure production stays, because until we have stable oil production, Ladi, until we have FAC efficiency allocation of funds, I think the reforms in the foreign exchange market will really do little to the Naira. All right, definitely. We'll keep tracking to see if it'll be another positive week for the Naira, going by what we're seeing so far. But thank you so much, Olumide Adesina, financial market analyst. Thank you. Thank you for having me, Ladi. Yeah, so I'm still optimistic about the Naira at this point. I believe we shall still see strengthening, this week. Hashtag keep the Naira strong. Yeah, Ladi, I used to have the dream of 400 Naira to a dollar. I still have that. But I think I have to be realistic, so I don't have a heartbreak. Right. I think I've lost that dream. I'll just keep it around 1,005. Right. And then one thing Olumide said there, that even though we have a high level of adoption, it does seem like it's just for preservation. People are just looking for ways to hedge against the drop in the value of the Naira. Not a very good reason, but, perhaps if the central bank continues to record success, in its efforts to recover the Naira, perhaps. Right. And we know those that hold crypto because they're waiting for life-changing money. You know what I'm saying? But what Dr. Agama said, that President Tinubu was the first. Right. I guess a lot of us missed that statement. We missed it when President Tinubu said he's friendly with crypto. Exactly, because Trump was forward. Trump is there. You know where he stands. Well, thank you so much, Ladi. All right, so that's it on the program. Thank you so much for being a part of Business Incorporated today. We'll certainly do it again tomorrow. God's grace. So let's make it a date, but I'll see you at 10 p.m. for the stock market report.